Yo, welcome to another episode of Optimize Your Body podcast. Today, I want to talk about how to get abs, right? Or even if you're not looking to get six-pack abs and you're just looking to shred stubborn belly fat. Now, I know a lot of you listening are in America. It's summertime now, right? But it doesn't really matter because this is going to be relevant regardless, this episode, because I get this question all the time in terms of how do I develop my abs? How do I make my abs more prominent? Or how do I make my midsection more trimmed? And the long story short of it is, you really need to focus on an order of priority. Now, a lot of people, you see them doing loads of crunches in the gym, right? Please stop doing crunches. If there's one thing you take away from this podcast, stop doing crunches. You know, you're doing body weight crunches. You can see me on the YouTube video now doing crunches, hands on my head, crunching away like my life depends on it, right? But the reality is that doesn't get you results, right? That's a waste of time. Stop doing it. Now, for some reason with abdominals, and even if you are carrying more body fat than you want to be, the good thing about training your abs properly now, it does depend on how much body fat you've got, of course. But depending on the person, your abs will become more prominent, even at higher body fat percentages, when you develop your abs properly. So for some reason, people don't treat their abs like they would any other body part, right? So when you go to the gym, and you're trying to build your legs, you're doing squats, for example, you're using weight, right? You've got a bar on your back or a dumbbell in front of you, and you're using external resistance. But for some reason, people don't do that with abs, and I don't know why. Now, the good thing with abs, though, on the flip side, is you can do a lot of bodyweight exercises, which are really effective, and I'm going to talk you through them now. But for the most part, you do want to build up to using weight on your abs to develop your abs and make them more prominent, right? So let's look at the big rocks first. Obviously, first and foremost, before I get into that, we all know diet is the most important thing, right? So you can do all the ab training in the world, but if you've got too much fat around your midsection, then you're not going to see them. Simple as that. But within reason, I'm not going to start throwing out percentages because it looks different for everyone. You will be able to see abs. They'll look more prominent at higher body fat percentages, like I said. But yeah, nutrition is the most important thing. But I want to talk on that quickly. It's not about restricting. A lot of people now, summertime in America, you're thinking, you might be thinking, I want to get leaner. I just want to lose this fat. When I look in the mirror, let's be honest, it's quite black and white, right? A lot of people listen to this without trying to put you into a pain pit, but you might look in the mirror and not like what you see. You might go on the scales and not like what you see. And you're like, look, I want to lose weight. I want to lose fat. I want to feel happier. But restricting is not the way to look at it when it comes to diet, right? If you even in your head, if you're using the word diet, right? I'm on a diet. I've said this before, but it's not going to work, right? That's not going to work to lose the fat, the stubborn fat, especially around the midsection and reveal those abs. That's not the approach. What you need to do is you need to fix your metabolism. Perhaps I should do a whole new podcast on this, but long story short of it is I actually help people do that. That's what I specialize in. And what I see is with 90% of people, they really need to revamp their metabolism and really just repair damage. Because a lot of people have tried lots of different ways to, even if it's not to lose loads of weight, a lot of my clients, a lot of them were at a decent level when they reached out, but they plateaued and they were carrying more fat than they wanted to be. And they haven't actually developed their metabolism enough. So that's what I help them with. It's like, right, how can we not only lose the fat and develop your abs, for example, but how can we really do this in a way where it's sustainable? And obviously, I keep saying this till I'm blue in the face, but this comes down to fixing your metabolism, right? What happens, or what probably happened to you, my friend, is if you're carrying stubborn fat or just too much fat around the midsection, ultimately, have you ever thought about the fact that your body has probably lost the ability to lose fat? It's not necessarily the diet or the things you've tried, which have worked temporarily, but you've gained the fat back, right? So a lot of times your body's lost the ability to lose fat. Why is that? It goes back down to your metabolic adaptation. The metabolism adapts by getting more efficient with calories, basically, right? So keep losing weight, getting the back, body gets better. It goes, okay, Martin is not feeding me, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to adapt and slow down and become more efficient with calories. And then that just becomes a nightmare, right? Because you store more fats. And the problem is then, when it comes to getting abs and getting tight around the midsection, every time you lose stubborn fat, for example, or fat around the midsection and gain it back, the body gets better at getting fat, right? Because all the body cares about is survival. So research shows more fat cells, permanent fat cells develop, right? And I mentioned this before, but I even noticed this when I did a bodybuilding comp from all the dieting up and down, up and down. The last comp I did the same stuff, but I had a little bit more fat there. So that's probably an example of that. Obviously, I was still shredded because I was going on stage, but it's the same sort of principle, really. So you got to be really careful with that. So that's what you got to focus on first and foremost. It's not dieting as such. It is fixing your metabolism, right? That's what you got to do. And ultimately, that's what I teach people to do with, inside my program. But let's get into the meat of it, right? In terms of what else you can do. Abdominals. Now, like I said, don't waste your time doing crunches. With abs and core, it's actually the hardest muscle group to connect to. Now, remember, obviously, I've had to master this, right? Getting on stage as a fitness model in that category in particular, you had to have shredded abs. So I've had to master not only doing the right ab exercises, but actually really training them effectively and essentially really getting the right connection to the muscle group. And all the intrinsic core muscles, like the muscles which wrap around your spine, which support your spine, they are really hard to connect to in particular. That's why a lot of people get injured when they're doing things like deadlifts in particular, because they got a poor connection to the transverse abdominis, which kind of wraps around the spine. But then you've even got the abdominals, the outer wall, which is the six pack, right? We're talking about here. And to develop that, you've got to really apply tension. And it's the hardest area to connect to out of all muscle groups. And also back is hard as well, especially the postural muscles, not the lower back. I'm talking about the upper back because people have a weak posture, but mainly core. So what we got to focus on first is, am I actually doing it with good technique, right? So a simple trick is, like, before I get into like my best exercises, like you got to really simplify it. And what I find is you don't even need to know about these advanced exercises yet. You need to really focus on doing the basic stuff. So instead of doing loads of crunches, try and provide, okay, disclaimer, if you've got any issues with your lower back or you've had any issues with your discs, doing sit-ups and flexing your spine or even crunches is a no-no, or you've got to be, I'm not going to get involved with that, right? Because that will likely cause more harm than good, right? If you're flexing your spine and you haven't, you've got an injury there. So don't try this at home. But if you're all good and you haven't got any lower back issues, try and do a perfect sit-up, right? So you can look at my YouTube channel for the videos on this anyway. I've got a really good one actually called the Roman chair sit-up on there. Roman chair sit-up. Go to my YouTube channel. It's in the show notes anyway, Martin Silver Fitness. And you'll see how to do that properly, effectively. Just how to do a crunch and a sit-up properly. But with a sit-up, imagine you just sat down, put your feet underneath something. Sit up. As you're sitting up, imagine each vertebrae in your spine is like a dominoes, right? So it's dominoes. So what's happening is the vertebrae are going bam, 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 one at a time. As you're sitting up, right? It's like dominoes with the vertebrae, if that makes sense, right? So it's really slow, and you're slowly crunching your abs and really engaging and shortening your spine and trying to bring your rib cage towards your pelvis before you actually get off the floor with the sit-up. That's what you should be doing. So you really engage in your core. And then once you've got that engagement, that's a proper crunch, right? A crunch done properly, then you're going to actually sit right up to your knees with your chest. And then the important piece then is go down really slow, super painful. Try and do 4 or 5 seconds on the way down, right? As you're going down on that sit-up, and tense your abs on the way down as you're doing it, right? Tense your abs as you're lowering yourself down, slow negative portion, and then repeat, right? If you can do more than 10 of those off the bat, you're not doing them right. Simple as that, right? That's hard, really, really hard. So try that as a starting point. But yeah, I'm not going to go into the rabbit hole of core stability and all that kind of stuff. Hanging leg raises is my favorite ab exercise. Now, it's very advanced because you've got to have a decent amount of upper body strength just to hang from a bar, right? But that is the most effective thing to do. You got to do it properly, though. Again, look at my YouTube channel. You know, a lot of people, it's all hips. They're not activating their abs properly. So you got to try and get your knees up to your chest and decelerate down. It's all about that deceleration, that negative portion of the rep, especially with abs, right? So check out hanging leg raises on my channel. I've got a really good video on that where you can use the bar behind you on a squat rack as a support to so you can get more engagement on the abs. But that's probably my favorite ab exercise. And then also, using weight, like I said, as you get stronger then, and you get better at sit-ups and you master what I said there, let's say you can get to like 3 sets of 12 and you've got more in the tank doing what I said, then the slow ones, then you can get like a plate and add weight and then really develop your abs and really add weight and build them up more. But you've got to be able to master the body weight stuff first. And, like another example is using a rope, doing a rope crunch, right? So using a rope on a cable machine and crunching. But again, you've got to be getting that crunch part. You've got to get that connection to the abs. So you got to do it slow, and you got to focus on bringing your ribs towards your pelvis nice and slowly and engage, squeeze it, hold the contraction. Once you've shortened your spine and crunched, hold the contraction for like 2 seconds on anything you're doing. So you're really squeezing the abs. Don't just do the sit up or do the crunch without any intention there, because it's just not going to work, right? So yeah, they're the kind of top exercises I would recommend. And also rotational movements are very important, not just for ab development and the obliques on the sides, but just to stop you injuring yourself. That's when most people get injured, especially with their lower back, because they haven't got good trunk rotational mobility. They don't do rotational movements essentially. And I fall into this. I hate doing them, so I avoid them. Literally, I've just started doing a Russian twist now with a kettlebell. But that's more to develop my abs. That's pure vanity. But yeah. Anyway, so rotations, decline twist, right? Using a plate, for example. Decline sit-up, that's the next level, by the way, after you've done sit-ups and mastered them. Decline on a decline bench, do a sit-up and do body weight first. Like I said, it's even harder. Do the same thing, 4 or 5 second negative. Crunch your abs before you've even sat up, right? And then sit up. And then again, when you get better at that, you can progress that by adding a weighted decline sit-ups. And then another good one is on a decline bench, right? So I'm talking one of these. If you get watching on YouTube on that kind of angle, it's probably like what, 90 degrees, whatever. Rotations with a dumbbell, tilt back and rotate with a plate, right? So it's like a Russian twist, but it's on a decline, more challenging, requires more stability. So they're the top ab exercise I'd recommend. And, also it's very important that you train them frequently. It's not about hammering abs. I would pick one of these exercises and do them each workout rather than doing them all in one session. You want to be spreading them out. So you're actually, you're sending that signal more often, right? Because you want to be like every 2 days, that muscle building signal dies. So ideally, you want to be doing something on your abs every other day. So what I would do is I would master each one of those exercises I've mentioned and do them every other day, but master the technique. Do, say, 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps every other day on each one of those exercises. You're training them frequently. It's not, you see loads of people hammering abs each session. Don't get me wrong. You could do maybe 2 ab exercises in one session. But one is going to be perfect if you're struggling to develop them. But moving forward, like now, for example, right, I stood next to my mate on the beach. My mate's just moved over from Wales, right, and he's shredded. He's a fitness model, absolutely shredded. Stood next to him on the beach, and I got good abs, right, but I don't train abs, right, because I hate training them. Full transparency. They're decent. But then I stood next to Chris and realized, oh my God, that was humbling because his abs are insane. So instantly I started training abs again. I know it's pure vanity, but literally it goes to show because I know my body fat percentage is low, right? So you're going to see they're going to be more prominent straight away when your body fat percentage is low, right? And I've started training them again. And all I'm doing is like hanging leg raises on one session. And then on the other session, and I'm supersetting that into a Russian twist actually with a kettlebell. And then on the other session, I'm doing active planks. That's another one of my favorite exercises. Very advanced body weights. Again, you can find it on my YouTube channel. Just type in active plank. Fantastic movement. You never see anyone doing that. Most underrated ab exercise. So that's what I'm doing now. And I've noticed straight away over the last week, my abs are already really popping out now. So it goes to show it bloody works training abs. But again, all of that is secondary. If you haven't got, a proper approach with the nutrition, a sustainable approach as well, which is not only going to chip away at that stubborn fat, but it's going to get you into a position where you've implemented habits with your lifestyle and with food that feel like they're second nature and you can stick to. And that's where I went, ladies and gents. Just a quick one on this, right? I used to struggle when I used to bodybuild, my bodybuilding days. When I was off stage, I would get shredded, then I would binge eat because I wasn't detached from those processed foods and my relationship with food wasn't the best. And then I would just have no abs, basically, off stage until I went back on stage. Then I would have no abs again because I couldn't control what I was eating. I was out of control with my behaviors with food. And that's coming from me, And I only managed to fix that, full transparency, probably about when I came to Australia, actually. So probably about 8 years ago, maybe. And it goes to show, right? It took me a decade, really, give or take, of actually PTing people back in the day before I even cracked the code properly with nutrition. And again, that's not easy. And you need a strategic approach, right? I had the knowledge. I knew what I was doing, but I really had to go deep and work on those behaviors and ultimately take a smart approach. So that's what you need to be doing. It's not about hard necessarily. It's about taking a smart approach, developing your metabolism, fixing your metabolic adaptation issue that you've got. That's what 90% of you need to do if you want to get a tight midsection, lose fat and keep it off, right? I'm going to keep coming back to that because that's the most important piece. So what else have I got for you? That's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's it really in a nutshell, right? You got to lose the fat. How do you do that? Nutrition, basically. and what else? Lifting weights like as often as possible, really. Doing strength training, a proper strength training program to keep your metabolism elevated and to build muscle so your waist actually looks smaller. That's another thing. Build the illusion. Develop your shoulders and your back. and your glutes, ladies in particular, develop your glutes. And then it's an illusion. It makes your waist look smaller, right? So that's why developing muscle, building muscle, and having a better, more aesthetically pleasing physique, if you like, actually makes your waist look smaller anyway. So you look way better if you just build muscle as well. So that should always be the cornerstone anyway to everything with fat loss, metabolism, longevity should always be strength training anyway when it comes to your training, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I've got something for you, ladies and gents. I'm going to give you, first and foremost, right? Let me touch on this. If you really do want to, over the next kind of 3 months, you really want to lose fat, keep it off, get into the shape of your life, and be self-sustaining, so you never have to, invest in your health ever again, then drop me a DM and I'll see if I can help you. Obviously, I can't help everyone. I only work with a certain type of client. I like to work with people who, are already in motion, but they're struggling really with losing fat and getting to the next level. So drop me a DM, and you can drop me a direct message on Instagram. Just DM me with the word info, and I'll tell you more about the program and see if I can help you. Either way, I'm happy to help either way and add some value. Or you can just drop me an email or fill out the coaching inquiry form, which is in the show notes, right? There's a coaching inquiry form in the show notes. Fill that out. And yeah, if you're not on Instagram, if you sleep on the rock, just I guess email me, admin@optimizeyourbody.com. I'll put that in the show notes too. But I've got something for you as well. The Ultimate Core Guide, I developed this. It's amazing, right? I'm going to give it to you for free, fellow podcast listeners. So if you want this Ultimate Core Guide, it's the perfect ab program, essentially. Just drop me a DM on Instagram with the word abs, ABS, and I'm happy to send it over to you. Again, if you're sleeping under a rock, send me an email, admin@optimizeyourbody.com with the word abs. I'll leave my email address in the show notes. So yeah, look, when it comes to your metabolism and getting sustainable fat loss in your health, you don't want to be in a position where you're going to get health ramifications with carrying too much fat, especially around your midsection and visceral organs. If you're carrying fat, that's the worst place to carry it. Metabolic health is the most important thing when it comes to, you're more susceptible to like 13 different types of cancer as you get more overweight. And, you got to look at your longevity and health. Like, do you want to have good quality of life? And you also want to add life to your years, because that's what it's all about. So don't mess around when it comes to metabolism, when it comes to, certain things that have been damaged. Like I damaged my metabolism and my gut a little bit when I was overeating all the time. I understand what it's like, and I've helped, some of my best clients fix these issues. So don't waste any more time and just drop me a DM with the word info, or email me admin@optimizeyourbody with the word info, and I'll see if I can help you. As I say, happy to help either way. All right, ladies and gents, short and sweet today. Stay tuned for the next episode. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please, so we can get bigger guests on. Martin Silver Fitness is in the show notes. Cheers.